it's Jess from Jellephant Art, and this video is basically inspired by Mariah Elizabeth, who has so far done 2 videos in her like fixing things I've ruined mini-series. So yeah, but in today's video I will be fixing some of my old artwork from a few years ago, I think. So let's go. Okay, so for the first painting that I'm going to give a makeover is this one, which is a watercolour painting. Now, I quite like the whole kind of idea of this quite a lot, but it's just like the blending and everything like that isn't great. So I actually kind of redid it. I've still got that whole, you know, wonky tree thing going on, but oh well, at least it's a bit cleaned up. And obviously the old one has more colours, but the new one is much neater. So let's get to actually customising this thing. So yeah, I use this for the thumbnail. I'm trying a new thing with a thumbnail, by the way. It isn't really working, but well, at least it's at the beginning of the video. So I scrape that off, let it dry, and now I'll be applying multiple coats of acrylic gesso, which basically just helps the paint adhere better. Now I'll be doing 2 acrylic paintings in this video because acrylics are like the only thing that works on gesso, well except for oil paints, but I don't have any of them, so I'm just going to be sticking to acrylics for this video. And I will need quite a few coats of gesso because white is actually going to be my base colour, so I do need quite a strong white. Okay, so now it's time to do the sketch. So right now I'm sketching a pumpkin because it's actually going to be an autumn themed painting, and I'm also going to sketch out some autumn leaves. And this is one of those ideas, like sometimes I get ideas where basically it's just like an art idea that just like comes into my head and I'm just like so committed to do it, and I'm just like, let's do it. So yeah, it's one of those where I just kind of, it's a bit of a random idea, a bit of a basic idea actually, but I do think the end result did come out cool, but I won't talk about that now because we've already just begun the painting. So yeah, speaking of painting, I'm going to begin actually painting the painting. What else would I be painting? Oh well. So yeah, I'm starting by painting the pumpkin. Now I decided to get quite nice shading in there because shading really does help like make any piece of art like a million times better. So in case you're wondering what paints I'm using the Works own brand acrylic paints, which are the Crawford and Black acrylics. Now these are super cheap, but they're actually really nice quality. Like you wouldn't think they'd be that good for the price, but they really are. But later on I did actually have to dip into some of my Liquitex Heavy Body acrylics, just because those, well, they have much better opacity, which means that they can cover over my sketching lines much better than the cheaper acrylic paints. So yeah, I tried painting that leaf, but as you can see, it really doesn't look very good. It looks kind of, it kind of reminds me of like Rudolph's nose crossed with its antlers, which is really weird, honestly. Also, I accidentally made a smudge of paint on the canvas, so let's just ignore that. And as you can see, I did sketch some new leaves, which I did actually use a reference for. I don't really use many references just because it feels like I'm copying, even though I know there's nothing wrong with using a reference. I just kind of like to use my own reference and either like view it actually with my eyes the old-fashioned way, or like take a picture of it, which is normally what I do. But you know, I prefer not to use references because it just feels like I'm stealing a picture from online, even though it's like a very generic picture. So yeah, I was going for more of like a kind of maple leaf kind of look, but I mean they kind of look just like regular leaves. I mean they do look really good though. I am actually pretty happy with them. So yeah, I'm going to be doing red, yellow, orange and brown leaves. Yeah, that leaf isn't looking too much better, but let's just move on with that. So the orange and brown leaf kind of look the same. So, but don't worry, I will fix that later. They are supposed to be different, but they're really not. So I did use my green Posca paint pen to do the vines on the pumpkin, which I think look pretty cool. So now I'm actually going to be what did I just say? Now I'm going to be doing the actual autumn, like modern calligraphy, which obviously, like, this is what I'm wishing that Posca like released some kind of brush tip. In case you're wondering, I'm also using the Thule Art acrylic paint pens as well. Now, one top tip for you, all the way through the fine print, that extra fine tip. I actually bought them for my Create This book cover, but when I got them they were way too thin, so I had to buy some emergency Poscas, which is why I even have Poscas in the first place, even though I am kind of glad I bought the Poscas because they're really fun to use. So yeah, now I've got the like stem, what do you call that, like the brown thing, the stalk? I don't know what you call that actually. But yeah, now I'm actually sorting out the red leaf, which does look much better now. So now I'm just kind of painting around the edges of like the leaves and stuff with some white, just to do some general touch-ups. Now I make quite a lot of mistakes when I'm doing that, which means that there are loads and loads of touch-ups that need to be done. But I mean, that's okay. Luckily I did actually have time to do even more than this, and you'll see why in a moment, because I made a mistake. So yeah, I was just kind of ordinarily just going to apply this new acrylic matte varnish I got by Winsor & Newton. I thought it looked very, very nice. Because I wanted one, because I'm currently painting a plant pot at the moment and I need something so that I can protect the paint to last over winter. So I bought that and I thought I better try it on this painting for the first time. So I did, and because I used my yellow and dark green Posca paint pen, for some reason, even though they were completely dry, it kind of smudged a little bit, and it started happening a little bit on the pumpkin, and I was kind of thinking like, okay, that isn't that bad, I guess. And I even tested with my finger to check, and it was completely dry, but it still smeared, and you'll see that in a minute when I go over this autumn. Honestly, like, I was just finishing up for the day doing art, and look, I have no clue what happened. I was just really annoyed. Oh no. It wasn't too fun. So I was honestly just like wondering what to do. So I came back the day later and I fixed everything, well, as many of the mistakes as I could fix. Which actually did allow me to fix the mistakes that I wouldn't have even had time to fix in the first place, and now it's looking much more cleaned up. So this time I'm actually going to apply some of my matte Mod Podge. If you don't know what Mod Podge is, basically it's like a sealer, but it can also be used as like a glow. It's all sorts of different things basically, but like in one product. And yeah, I don't really like using Mod Podge on its own because it has a really tacky kind of residue even when it's completely dry. So, well, especially not for acrylic paintings anyway. So I did end up going over the acrylic varnish, and I was actually really worried for this, but it actually did work. So learn from my mistakes, please, because it was really annoying because I was already like spending too long on this painting as it was, and then I had to like have an extra art session of this painting. So yeah, here it is. Here's the finished result. Sorry for the slightly cloudy bit. That was where I couldn't be bothered to wait for the varnish to completely dry. So yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with this painting. I really like it. There's not really like anything wrong with it, really. I mean, it's quite a basic idea, but I think overall I do really like it. So now it's time for the second and last painting. So this one is it's got a light pink background with some sprinkles on it, and this one was definitely when I was starting to watch Mariah Elizabeth, because as much as I don't want to say this was copying her style, it was. I was. So yeah, I was clearly quite inspired by her style when I started watching her, but now I have kind of developed my own style and I'm not just completely copying hers. So yeah. First, let's start it the same way we did with the last one by opening my gesso. maybe in about 5 years I'll get it open. So yeah, now I'm going to gesso the canvas. Now this isn't, unlike the last one, it isn't as a background, like I won't be using the white as a background. This will just be a base coat, just to get rid of that old design. And also to help the paint adhere a little bit better. So I'm just going to paint the edges as well as the front, and because we're not using it as background, we only need one coat. So now that's dry, I'm going to sketch out my design. So I actually realised as I was sketching this that I've never done an acrylic landscape on like a mini canvas before. So yeah, I'm gonna do that basically. I was just kind of thinking of ideas, of good painting ideas, and this kind of just came to mind. So yeah, I'm gonna do like a lake with like a kind of sunset, something, just a cool sky. I'm also going to do some like mountains and trees. I don't know why I'm like individually sketching all the details for the trees, because, well, I'm going to be using a special brush later for the leaves, so I'm not even going to be using that. But oh well, I guess it's drawing practice. So I actually had the idea to do like some kind of bridge going over the lake, so I thought that would look quite nice. And the idea is nice, but I guess like once I did it, I don't know, I like connected all the lines up and stuff, and it just looks a bit stupid, and I don't know how to fix that. So I just decided to completely ditch the whole bridge idea. Plus it makes the lake look bigger without it. So yeah. So now it's time to begin actually painting. So I started off doing this kind of sunset sky, and I wasn't really sure what colours to use, so I ended up just kind of using random colours. They didn't mix too well. They kind of created a kind of gross brown, so that wasn't too nice. I mean, it looks alright, but don't worry, I do end up fixing that later. Now I'm painting in the lake with a nice light blue, and I actually used a palette knife for this. I got a set of palette knives, and I don't use them for anything except for abstract art, and I'm not very good at abstract art. Like, I just find it so difficult. I don't know why. Like, it should be like the easiest art ever, but it's really difficult for some reason for me. But yeah, I thought I should probably like find a use for them that I'm actually gonna like use them for regularly. And yeah, I do quite like the kind of texture it created, which is cool. So now I'm adding some different colours to the lake just to give it a bit more contrast and just make it look that bit nicer. So now I'm going to start painting the trees. So I'll start with the trunks of the trees. And I'm just kind of using a very standard burnt umber for the colour. Pretty standard, like I say. And with this sped up footage, for some reason, it makes it look like this painting went so smoothly. Like it makes the trees look so neat, and like I always make mistakes whenever I'm painting, but for some reason this makes it look like I'm really good at fine details, even though I'm not. So yeah, now I'm adding some kind of cerulean blue to the top of it, just to give it some more vibrant colours, because I think this painting would definitely benefit from that. So now I'm going back to actually fix the sky, and it kind of ended up looking almost rainbow because it's got orange, yellow, green and blue. There wasn't really supposed to be very much green, but I mean, I don't mind it. It's just, you know, I was hoping to do more orange, yellow and blue. So I'll actually be using my fan brush for the leaves of the trees, which I actually think create quite a nice effect. So yeah, here's the finished painting. In case you're wondering, I did use that same acrylic sealer for this painting, which just helped protect the paint and stuff. So yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with this painting. I really like the colours. I think that's what really makes it for me. It's just like the vibrancy of the colours. And yeah, I'm definitely happy with this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like and also subscribe to see more content like this. Thanks for watching. Bye!